everyone, and welcome to the 6th episode of Second Chances Show. I'm very excited today because I have a very special guest on today, Dr. Sanjeev Dixit. And he's a special guest because he comes from the HR organizational development background, but we connect on so many levels. First of all, he's an author like me. He's a wonderful speaker, and he comes from authenticity, and he believes that wellness, or the wheel of wellness, has to be in order for you to really leverage that into the organization, into your values and your beliefs, to go up that organizational ladder, if you will. So let me just mention here why I have Dr. Sanjeev is because even though he doesn't come, he's from a healthcare and wellness background, but I believe the wheel of wellness is not just health and mental health or physical health, spiritual health. I think it's it will affect that financial health, the career balance health, and so on and so forth. So I'm very excited to have him today, and he is actually dubbed as the ideapreneur. Like I said, he has a rich history and journey in the HR organizational development, and he has a very huge belief in advocacy in holistic wellness, leveraging it in personal values. So I'm your host today. My name is Dr. Hanan Salim. I'm an international speaker, award-winning author of Second Chances, hence the name of the show. And I actually put in the roadmap in how to leverage that wheel of wellness that we were just talking about a minute ago. And once you address that main issue that might be limiting yourself in that wheel, you're able then to skyrocket exponentially in everywhere, including your finances, including your career and business. I'm also dubbed as the pharmacist of the future because I help entrepreneurs and corporate leaders, if they have health issues or wellness issues, and I inform them to find that root cause and be able to heal it quickly and be able to advance it into their biology. Hence, I have something called healology. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our host today because we have a lot of value and a lot of information to give you. So with me today is Dr. Sanjeev Dixit. He is a global HR leader, author of cultural transformation book, which is called Plan C. Very excited about this because I think a lot of people, he's going to be answering a lot of questions we might have on our mind during this economy and this COVID-19 crisis. He's the renowned speaker and, like I mentioned, ideapreneur. He has achieved Chartered Fellow from globally acclaimed Chartered Institute of Personal Development in the UK and Fellow Certified Practitioner in Human Resources from the Australian Human Resources Institute. He is a global accredited and trainer and consultant in directive communication, color brain mapping, accredited member of the Global Trainers Federation. He's awarded a Global Top 100 HR Minds Award by the World Health HRD Congress in 2018. And he has been attributed as the 100 Most Influential Global HR Professionals Award as well in 2017. And he also received global accreditation from the DC Culture Consultant from Directive Communication International under the auspice of Global Top 5 Culture and Leadership Guru, Mr. Arthur Karmazi, he's also a dear friend of mine, accredited by the American Institute of Business Psychology. So reason I did Second Chances is because I feel this platform would really bring a lot of value and information on many levels, including the professionals like Dr. Sanjeev today from the HR organizational development. And like I said, this all adds up to the complete wheel of wellness. So Let's meet Dr. Sanjeev. How are you, Dr. Sanjeev? How are you today? I think there's a bit of a delay on your side. Can you check your Wi-Fi perhaps? It's a bit robotic, the sound. Do you want to connect again, Dr. Sanjeev? You hear me?
Okay, no issues. I can reconnect.
Thank God. Okay. Technology is working for us finally. So I did some introduction. I don't know if you were able to hear me during that period.
I
But I
can, yeah, I did hear Dr. Hanan. So that's why I said thank you so much for a wonderful introduction.
think
This would have
pleasure.
definitely fetched me a new job.
So, what do you give your introduce yourself as well, in case I missed anything, and you want to bring to the platform today?
No, so I think you have covered most of the element of my professional background, but I think I connect with the entire principle of second chances more from a human level because before anything, I'm a human. And when I say human, beside the profession I'm into, which is human resource
Yes.
management and organization development, but at the first level is the entire idea of being human. And when we say we are human, we also say we are human being because we are in a constant, we can say, state of evolution,
Yes.
and that is why the word being is used with us. So if I have to introduce myself, I will say that I'm a human who's in the endeavor to be always, you can say, evolve and grow in a more, you can say, holistic person.
Yes. Then this introduction I missed, which is humble as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
So I want to speak for a minute on your personal experience and philosophy towards holistic and deep wellness. How, from your personal experience in HR values and organizational development, would you give feedback on this one?
So I've got a 23 years of hands-on experience in managing human capital across various multinationals, PepsiCo, Philips, large conglomerates. I think what I've achieved in this entire journey is discovering myself, as I
Mhm.
mentioned in the beginning, as a human. And I think when I discovered myself at least 3 4 levels. And if I have to talk in little more in depth, I think uh, a human is divided in body, mind, head, soul, and heart. I
Mhm.
think these are the constituents which I have discovered during my journey. And each of the element of your human status needs to be taken care of from a wellness point of view.
Yes.
And what join everything from your, as I said, head to head, heart, and mind and body is your soul.
Mm.
And I think that's where we miss the point. We've been always driven by head in terms of logic, in terms of achieving targets, in terms of achieving ambitions. We've been always driven by body in terms of the kind of physical needs, the kind of physiological needs. We are also driven by most of the time by mind in terms of new ideas, creativity, innovation, and even heart in terms of emotions and connecting with people, friends, family. In this entire, you can say, circus, what we have missed is the soul. And I think soul is the most, I will say, uh, potent and most strong driving force, which gives you the, I will say, soulfulness,
Mhm.
which ultimately end up giving you the state of highest level of wellness or well-being, or the health. And I'm not talking about here spirituality. I'm primarily talking about connecting with your roots, which is your soul, at a level where you reconnect with your belief system, which is further convert into your value system. And values are nothing but the principle of your life, which you cherish, which is non-negotiable. And these values then drive your behaviors. So if you have a value which you cherish in terms of, for example, containment, your behavior will be driven by that particular value of contentment. If your value is to be highly ambitious, your behavior will be again driven by that. If your value
Mm.
is to uh, uh, caring and being compassionate, obviously your behavior is again driven by that. And as you behave, as you will get your results.
Mm.
So if I connect all the what you call uh, uh, aspects of your you can say existence, your entire soul is driven by your belief.
Yes.
Belief basically makes your values. Values drive your behaviors.
Mm.
Behaviors are shown in your action, and action gives you the results. And then it's a cyclical process. Now, most of the time in your life, what we have been, as I said, focusing on is either action or results. And that is where the disconnect is. And that is why we get frustrated. That's why we get totally disheartened or depressed. Because when we see that our action is not giving us the desired results, we get into that kind of either victimhood, or we start questioning the external forces and everything. And what we miss out is that if we reflect on that, what is my real state of being, and if that is driven by your soul and your soulfulness, I think then you will never get distracted or digress from the key objective of achieving the holistic wellness through soulfulness.
So leading into that, so what we're trying to say here today is that you and I, and everyone, as you wonderfully indicated in the beginning of the show, is that being human and aspect like your self-reflection, trying to connect and create a harmony, like you said, between the mind, the heart, and the soul is very crucial. And actually I second that, because that's what we talk about also in second chances. We want to find that which is creating the disharmony for what I call mind brain organ connection from a biology point of view, right?
Right.
So we are both saying that it's not unheard of, or it's not hard, or it's not difficult, and you don't have to go outside looking for it, for resources, that you could actually control and help yourself and contribute to those disconnect, if you will, or disharmony between those three aspects of being, on a chunked up human being, right? So how would you now give some ideas from our ideapreneur? How do we give people the ideas of how then we look for, or start, holding on to that thread of creating the control and creating that harmony between the mind brain organ, or as you say, between the mind, heart, and the soul. Dr. Sanjeev? I think, let me try. Dr. Sanjeev, we don't see you, we don't hear you. Okay, you're back. It was a heavy question there, I guess. Yeah, Dr. Sanjeev is still, the voice, I think, is a bit not clear. Do you hear me? Maybe you want to reconnect, or? Hi, Dr. Hanedi, how are you? Lovely to have you today with us. Thank you for joining. We're just waiting for Dr. Sanjeev for his internet or Wi-Fi to reconnect, hopefully. Dr. Sanjeev, you hear us? You want to reconnect, please?
Now I'm audible?
Okay, here we go. Yes, now we hear you. Wonderful. Did you hear my question?
Yeah, I heard your question, Dr. Hanan. So, primarily, the entire approach, which I can only quote from my own personal experience, is once we start reflecting inward, and I think most of the time as a human race, we are is in such a hurry that we are always driven by the competition. We are always driven by what is happening around me rather than within me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the most important question. Number two is, while I try to understand others, how much I understand myself. I think
Yes.
the time you spend with yourself is more crucial in terms of knowing self in order to know others.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has been my journey so far, and still the journey is going because it's not yet over. Because knowing yourself in itself is a phenomenal, I will say, overwhelming experience, because you are changing basis the how the external environment is changing because of the response. But primarily, the way your entire, as I said, value system has been created, the way you are trying to adapt that value system with the world view and the way world operates, I think that's where the entire dilemma is. And how you manage this dilemma helps you to maintain that balance between what the world expect from you and what you want from the world vis-a-vis what you want from you and yourself, without too much compromising on those value systems. And I've been a proponent and student of values from the beginning, because I believe that values create value.
Yes.
As simple as that. The companies, the team, the organization, the nation which have compromised on their values, irrespective of having competence, irrespective of having skills, irrespective of having resources, irrespective of having the bestest of technology, irrespective of having the bestest of talent,
Mm-hmm.
they vanish. And case in point are various organizations we can quote,
Mm.
whether it is Enron, WorldCom,
Yes.
Lehman Brothers, as a case in point. All the troubles you're seeing in various nations today is
Mm.
because of the erosion of values.
Right.
And values create the culture.
Mm-hmm.
So are we creating a culture of wellness? Are we creating a culture of human coexistence? Are we creating a culture of soulfulness? Are we creating a culture of heartfulness? Are we creating a culture of where each and every human is valued and is
Mhm.
not just a number in the population? I think this mindset is the key for us to grow as a humanity or as a world in totality. And I think that vision is what is needed at the leadership level or at the highest level of organization or nation or a team.
Yeah. I remember you just reminded me of a research or in the organizational level in the US, I think it was, where they brought some data suggesting that the best workers or employees wasn't because of their skills, wasn't because of their knowledge, wasn't because of their education. It was really surprising because it just brought one thing that they needed to have, and it was their attitude. And of course,
Absolutely.
attitude means values. It means, that mindset you were just talking about. So I think, people like Facebook or Google and all these, advanced, even McKinsey are realizing now that you can apply and work at these major companies without worrying that, oh, you don't have the X amount of experience, you don't have that PhD, you don't have that a certain previous work or anything like that. They're looking for that mindset, and they look at it as that's the most important ruling factor to work at these amazing companies. Yeah.
Absolutely. Your attitude decide your altitude. I think
Yeah,
that's proven. That's been proven. So,
absolutely. So
and
I mean, there's a lot of complexities of life. But there's actually one simple. I mean, if one were to give just one simple golden nugget, if you will, or idea that people could take away that could lead to an unburdened, quote unquote, life that you mentioned, what would that be? Like, what would be the simple recipe, or what would be that simple idea that people can take away today as a value that could because a lot of people feel stressed, they're feeling depressed. I heard, like, in the US, they're having a high divorce rate, there's suicide, and there's all these unfortunate situations that's happening, and because of the one thing that people feel burdened, feel stuck, feel that there's no way to move forward beyond this situation because there's so much loss that we're seeing all around us. So, what would be your idea of an unburdened life?
I will say in four letters, love.
Mm.
And when I say love, love is acronym of living our values every day.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's the acronym which I'm giving and which I'm living every day. So if you
Dr. Sanjeev, I think there's again the robotic Wi-Fi situation. Do you hear us, Dr. Sanjeev? Hmm. Dr. Sanjeev, with the noise, I think there's some. You went from being human to robotic. The voice is being a bit robotic. Technology is not working with us today. It's not cooperating. Can you reconnect again, Dr. Sanjeev? Yeah, I think you're connecting. Hopefully, you'll be connecting now. I see there's some movement there. Dr. Sanjeev, can you connect again? Yeah, here we go. I think. All
I'm
right.
back.
Yeah, yeah, I see you now. Yeah, you're back.
I think, yeah, I
You
think
went
I think,
back to being human again. Yes, go ahead.
I think this, I think the StreamYard has a challenge. Yeah. So what I
Yeah.
was mentioning was that the one motto, one simple principle, one simple rule, which I've been following and have quoted that is called love, and the
Yes.
acronym is LOVE, and that stands for living our values every day. And
Yes.
if we are living our values every day, we are basically nourishing our soul. When if we are loving our value every day, we are loving ourselves. Number one. Once we love
Yes.
ourselves, we are loving our family, we are loving our team, we are loving our organization, we are loving our nation, we are loving our country. But I think that starting point is this entire, as I said, uh, uh, orientation of living our values every day. So I
Yes.
think that is the, I think, Mool mantra, or I will call it the talisman for a very soulful and very meaningful life to live.
I
Because
totally agree. Yeah. So it's basically boils down to authenticity, right? Authenticity
absolutely,
is crucial because I was just discussing yesterday with a friend of mine, and we were talking about being playing this game called health. There's many games, right? There's the game of health. There's the game of business. There's the game of a life. There's the game of marriage. And in order to win the game, is you show up as you, right? Without pretending, without hiding, without defending, without proving anything to anyone. Because that's when you start doing those things and not being your authentic self or true to your soul, or like we were just talking about that harmony, that's where we start losing, right? We start losing the
absolutely,
game of life, right? And that's
absolutely,
when people, allow suicide thoughts to creep in, and then we start losing the game of marriage, right? And then divorce starts creeping in, and so on and so forth. So I love that you mentioned that, because authenticity is key to allowing yourself to leverage that which is already in you, without going out to find it outside yourself. Absolutely.
absolutely. So whatever you're seeking outside, seek within. I think that is the principle. I think our old generation used to follow that. And if you see in our earlier times, ancient times, and there
Hmm.
are so many anecdotal stories where people were absolutely driven by the values and the value system. They were content at a very basic what do you call resources and a means of living. There was no such kind of a mad rat race or a dog race, whatever you call it,
Hmm.
to create a world where dog eats dog. And
Hmm.
I think that is the reason why, irrespective, we have achieved so much advancement scientifically, medically,
Yes.
uh, technologically, capitally, financially. So all aspects, you see, we have gone much notches higher. But where we have gone absolutely, you can say, deep nose dived southwards is on the very basic level of what you call living. And I think that is where I always say, are you living or you are existing? So
Yeah.
so that is where soul comes in, and that's where your love comes in, and that's where your values comes in. That's where your culture of well-being comes in. So do you have a, as I said in my book, Plan C? Do you have a Plan C for
Hmm.
yourself? Do you
Hmm.
have a Plan C of well-being? Do you have Plan C of a positive living? Or you always driven by Plan A, which is action, or Plan
Hmm.
B, which is backup,
Yeah.
and there is no Plan C. So, so are we driven by Plan C? Do we have a Plan C of or a culture? And culture is nothing but the behavior you demonstrate consistently. And as I said, behavior is the fruits which is grown on the roots of belief and values.
Yes, which you were actually starting to answer my next question, which is how can one develop culture of holistic wellness for self, family, team, organizations, or a larger entity through your Plan C? Yeah.
Yeah, so in the book Plan C, we have kind of created a roadmap or a blueprint of creating a culture of whatever culture you want to envision. So first thing first is, what is your culture vision?
Mm,
We generally have vision for our nation and vision for our organization, that we want to be the best, uh, top three or bestest organization or great place to work or great nation to live, kind of vision. But
mm,
when it comes to the basic point, do you have the culture vision? What kind of culture you want to create in order to achieve that? And I think that is first thing I will say in terms of I think articulating. So for my family, what is the kind of culture I want to create? Is it a culture of coexistence? Is it a culture of honesty? Is it a culture of, as I said, holistic wellness? Is it a culture of happiness? Is it a
mm,
culture of ambition? So that culture vision is the first point. Then, based on the culture vision, you create a design that, okay, in order to achieve that vision, what are the basic mechanism in terms of either I call it belief system or value system, which will nurture that culture or that vision.
mhm,
That I call culture design. Then culture design is translated into culture action. So what are the daily I am going to monitor, what action I am going to do. So the action I'm going to monitor is, did I live my value today in all my transactions, whether at work or whether at my family level or whether at my what you call professional level? Did I live my value system in terms of the behavior which I demonstrated?
mm,
That is become culture action. Then comes your culture review. I review regularly. Am I digressing from my the culture vision or the culture value which I have identified, or I am in line with that? So I continuously review that I am absolutely on track. I am absolutely living every day consistently all the principle, all the values which I have identified for my family or for myself or for my organization or for my team or for my nation. I'm living those values through the culture reviews. And if there are any gaps, I again do a culture improvement exercise.
mm,
So if these four pillars or five pillars of, you can say, the entire Plan C roadmap or blueprint is lived, I'm absolutely sure with a lot of confidence, this is my hands-on experience in organization and on myself. My journey is also in itself is a Plan C. So I can say that by design we will create a very very wonderful, beautiful kind of living and not existing what you call
mm.
experience for all the stakeholders or all the constituent of the family or the organization.
So this leads me to an interesting question. So, the economy and everything, starting to get back in order, right? So a lot of people, I did a presentation or a conference online with a big pharma company. And the first opening I did was I took a survey or a poll of how they feel, the next chapter, quote unquote, beyond COVID, how they see it. Is it going to be the new norm? Are we going to actually go back to what we call normal, from the way it was pre-COVID, if you will? So,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on that? What do you see as the vision? Because a lot of people, a lot of futuristic thought leaders would say that what we used to do will not be working anymore. We have to always be reinventing ourselves to be able to exponentially grow. What they mean by that is what you learned, you need to unlearn and then relearn every so often. I think this is what I'm hearing when you were talking also about Plan C. That's very, very important in order to grow and meet the challenges that are sometimes beyond our control. So, what do you think? Be post COVID, what would that look like actually, or how do you feel about that?
So I think the entire experience of this pandemic or the crisis, COVID crisis, has given a very good reality check
Yes.
to so-called high-flying human race, which is
Mm,
going towards Mars, but still not able to kind of win over a virus. So I think
mm,
that's the biggest reality check which everybody got, and the way we got exposed across the world in terms of the uh, either I will call it the leadership quality being exhibited to manage this crisis. I think there is a lot of lessons to learn from it. That
mm,
I think the way we prepared, the way we now are managing the crisis, there is a relative success, but still long way to go. Number one. Number two, I think this is one of the, I will say, disruptive
yeah.
change which has happened. This is absolutely disruptive. This is a great example of disruption in the way you live, in the way you manage your health, in the way you manage relationship, in the way you manage business, in the way you manage a nation, country, everything. Everything got a reality check.
Mm,
And I think this is going to now, uh, one of the biggest challenges, we are a very uh, human race has got a what do you call short-term memory loss problem.
mm.
So we will very immediately going to absolutely forget these what do you call learnings which we might would have imbibed and internalized. We
Yeah.
will definitely again go back to the same rut, the way we have achieved this kind of a problem. So this is
Mm,
more of a man-made problem than a uh,
mm,
the, any kind of a what do you call pandemic.
yeah.
So I think the approach which is important is to reflect why this happened, why we able to not cope up in the manner we should have coped up. Still, we are grappling with the communication channel gaps. Somebody saying something, somebody saying something. We're still not able to have a one voice across the globe in terms of why, what, how, when, who, to kind of ensure that we come out like a winner, and we come out as like a learner out of this entire experience. So this is going to test, I think, the plan C, and I think that is where I'm emphasizing more or most of the time on the culture piece, because companies which have got a strong value system, they had a very strong, you can say, mechanism of visualizing how to manage any kind of a crisis. I think they relatively done better than companies which were only driven by strategies and were driven by, you can say, big plans and without any focus on culture. And those
Yeah.
companies are real time struggling today. Uh, and there are so many examples I can quote without naming. I don't want to get into that. So I think the learning is, if we get into our basics, if we start focusing on our roots, if we start looking at the soul of our organization, which is again culture, if we look at the
Mm,
soul of our own living, which is again, as I said, soulfulness and the holistic wellness, we will be uh, de-risking a lot of these risk which is coming out of these crises. We will de-risk in advance,
mm,
because how we will de-risk is we will not panic, we will not get depressed, We will not get into knee-jerk reaction. We will not get into just managing for the sake of managing.
Yeah.
More proactive in managing any kind of crisis, whether it is very robust, deep-rooted culture or the plan C. I think
Wow,
that is the only way by which we can de-risk our business.
yeah. This last point was leading to actually that covers our second chance is always life as
Did I miss
precious
you?
and you get to live. Yeah. To live your dreams, your wild. I call it wildest dreams. So everybody, you know, some people call it the bucket list. Some people, you know, call it your you know, so out there that it's not reachable. That, but you know, you and I, of course, believe that everything is reachable if you put your mind into it and create that harmony we were talking about in the beginning of the show. So I can't believe like we've been, you know, talking and time flies so fast when we're really getting into, you know, getting these values and information out to people. So what I usually do is I usually set a quote from my book, Second Chances. You hear me, Dr. Sanjeev? Dr. San- Dr. Sanjeev? Technology. We're talking about being human, not robotic today. It's not, technology is working against us today. You hear me? It's not, I don't hear you quite well. Okay, you're coming back. I see your picture. Hopefully you work, you'll start to, it's a bit still robotic. You hear me? It's still breaking up. Hopefully you'll come back. Dr. Sanjeev, you hear me? Okay, maybe if I stop my camera maybe for a sec there. Do you hear me now, Dr. Sanjeev? Dr. Sanjeev, you hear me? Okay, so what I was going to say was that I usually, at the end of the session, I usually randomly choose a section or a quote from my book. And this particular quote was interesting, and I'd like to read it to our guests today joining us on the Facebook Live, as well as Dr. Sanjeev. Hopefully by the end of reading this, he'll come back on and he could give us his last words on this quote as well, which is, when health is absent, wisdom cannot reveal itself, art cannot manifest, strength cannot fight, wealth becomes useless, and intelligence cannot be applied. Now, I really believe that without having your health and wellness and that harmony we were talking about in the beginning of the show, there's always going to be a disconnect. Let me add Dr. Sanjeev. Dr. Sanjeev, are you there? So, you hear me? I don't know if you got to hear the quote I was making from the book. So hopefully you'll come on and we could see and hear you, that you could give us your last words to wrap up today. But what I was saying is that, we all believe that, our outside resources, or, having the X amount of money in the bank, or having that career, or having that, environmental success is what people, call it, without actually having your most important wealth, which is your health and well-being. That sometimes, as we've seen during this crisis in COVID-19, that everything in the world is not going to be as important without your health and well-being. Dr. Sanjeev, did you hear my quote that I was
No,
mentioning?
I missed your quote, Hanan.
Okay, so what I was saying, I from the book, I usually wrap up the show with a quote from the book, and I choose it randomly. But interesting enough, every time I choose a quote, it kind of like hits home, and it's like the perfect quote to wrap up at the end of the show. And the
Right.
quote says, "When health is absent, wisdom cannot reveal itself, art cannot manifest, strength cannot fight, wealth becomes useless, and intelligence cannot be applied."
Excellent. Beautiful.
Yeah. So I thought it was a perfect quote from the book to wrap up. So your last words on that. How does that quote resonate with you? Yeah.
So I think it absolutely, I second that and I endorsed what you just said. And I think that was the summary of what we've been talking in the last 30 minutes is
Yeah.
that all the, you can say, um, money and all those success, what we measure in various other forms, those are meaningless if you're
Yes.
not able to enjoy it.
Yes.
Okay, you need to enjoy it, you need to cherish it, and all these element of term called enjoyment and cherish is again coming from the sense of living, which is somewhere you can say uh, designed within your soul. And I think that is only way by which you can keep nurturing yourself, keep nurturing your well-being, keep nurturing your second chances in terms of living life in a more fullest manner. And again, as just to show my book Plan C,
Yes.
which is
Quote. Do you have a quote or anything or a
yes,
line? Just choose
yeah.
it randomly, like
I'll
me,
I'll
and
I'll I'll
to
quote two
see.
things. One is the from my chapter, fourth chapter called Values Enhances Value. Uh, Values are the most underrated but most powerful force of a human being and organization. Value creation and erosion depending upon whether it is used or abused. So it is in our hand. The choice lies with us whether we are using our values or we are abusing our values, and that will decide our two courses of end. How we will end our entire journey. Will it be a success by shortcut, or it is a much more meaningful journey towards achieving that particular success? So it is a matter of choices. So I will just attribute second chances with second choices.
Oh, I like that a lot. And we have Dr. Nirvana. She's great going and great topic, Dr. Hanan and
Thank
Dr.
you,
Sanjeev.
thank
Dr.
you.
Nirvana, how are you? Lovely lady, one of my guests as well.
Thank you.
Wonderful author, and thank you for joining us today. And thank you, Dr. Sanjeev, for your time and your value and information for our audience today. Really appreciate it. And any last words?
So thank you so much, Dr. Anand. I think it's always pleasure to connect with you.
Yeah.
Fortunately, you provided this platform, so we today at least had a good free flowing chat of 40 minutes without any except some technological glitches. I think I wish all the your audience and the viewers of this particular live session all the best, And I think while we have second chances, let's leverage our first chance, which has been given by God in terms of the life, a very precious life which has been given by Him. Let's cherish it. Let's make the best use of it because you have one life. Let's have no point of any regrets uh, at your deathbed that I would have done this, I could have done that. I think while when we came on earth, we didn't have choice. That was not decided by us. But when we go, how we will be remembered is our choice. And I think that's very, very powerful thought that we can decide how my legacy would be. Now, what kind of better legacy I can leave before I say goodbye. And I think that's most important element. And I think for me, that is the only driving force. Am I leaving a better legacy than what I got?
Yes, and absolutely, absolutely. Because the worst thing that one could have at the end of it of the journey is to have any regrets, not
True.
living your fullest, not achieving what you our soul. We were talking about your soul was given a chance to be here and not fulfilling that passion that was brought with your soul. Thank you so much, Dr. Sanjeev. Please tune in every Wednesday where we have wonderful experts and professionals bringing a lot of value and information to our audience. We want to
Sure.
help you guys on many levels in the wellness. Like I said, the wheel of wellness to achieve your own wildest dreams. Thank you again, Dr. Sanjeev, and we're
Okay, Dr.
signing off.
Hanan, wishing you all the best in life. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye. Take care.